At last, the notification has reached us. It could be a 2 a.m. text message. It could be a trembling voice on the phone. Alternatively, it could be an abrupt, indisputable change in the universe energy, a vibration that strikes your chest and signals that the debt has been settled. No matter how it comes, the frequency is clear. They expressed regret. They acknowledge it. You were correct. However, we must audit the timeline and go back to the time when the glitch was discovered before we can celebrate this victory and pop the champagne. Turn the tape back. Rewind 3, 5, or perhaps 10 years. Recall the moment you declared to everyone, "This structure is compromised," while standing in the center of a burning building. We must go. You notice the foundational cracks in the relationship that everyone claimed was flawless. You noticed the trapdoor when you looked at the opportunity they were pursuing. You observed the poison seeping into the groundwater, and the family dynamic that everyone pretended was normal. You knew it. You didn't just think it. You sensed it in your stomach, in your dreams. You sensed it. What did you do? What a chosen one always does. You did. The alarm was sounded by you. Hey, watch out for that person. You said, hey, this path leads to a dead end. You said, hey, we're working on a lie. You said, what was the answer? Were they appreciative? Has your foresight earned you a medal? No, you were diagnosed by them. They referred to you as insane. They referred to you as negative. They said you were too sensitive. You were labeled paranoid. Your spiritual radar was picking up signals they couldn't hear. So they looked at it and said it was broken. The Cassandra algorithm was your home. Cassandra was a princess of Troy in ancient mythology. She was endowed with the gift of prophecy by the gods. She had perfect vision of the future. However, she was cursed for turning down a god's advances. The curse was straightforward and cruel. No one will ever believe you, even though you will always tell the truth. The Trojan horse was a trap. She cried. They wielded inside the gates while laughing. Before one match was lit, she saw the city burning. They advised her to relax. For the past 10 years, this has been your life's narrative. Your entire family has used you as a diagnostic tool for the system. The only person with administrator access to the actual circumstances was you. You were reading the source code while they were preoccupied with the user interface, the glitzy profile pictures, the phony smiles, and the fake money. The ones and zeros were visible to you. The betrayal was encoded in the handshake. As you witnessed, you saw how the spending habit was a code for bankruptcy. Since you were the first, your vision threatened their illusion, even though you saw the divorce encoded in the wedding vow. The system defends itself. They would have to acknowledge that their whole reality was untrue. If they acknowledged that you were correct, they would have to change if they acknowledge your correctness. Furthermore, people detest change more than they detest suffering. Thus, the messenger had to be discredited. They started a campaign of defamation against your judgment. You began to doubt your own sanity as a result of their intense gaslighting. How many times did you look up at the ceiling and ask yourself, am I the problem? Am I being too judgmental? Perhaps I'm just dreaming. You made an effort to match their frequency by lowering yours. You attempted to disable the radar because you can't unsee the code once you see it. You tried to fall back asleep but were unable to do so. However, the simulation has finally produced the outcome you anticipated 10 years ago. The president has the report on his desk. The catastrophe you forewarned them about has materialized precisely as you predicted. Their chosen safe route fell apart. They revealed the kind person they were defending. The quick cash they sought vanished. The family custom they safeguarded was revealed. The very situation you attempted to rescue them from has left them standing in the rubble. The map you gave them is in their hands, and they realize they walked off a cliff because they wouldn't read it. There is an overwhelming silence in the room. The haughtiness has vanished. Since a forest fire cannot be gaslighted, the gaslighting has ceased. A car crash is unassailable. There is no denying the data. You weren't suspicious. You were accurate. You weren't nervous. You were right. You didn't have a disorder from the years of anxiety. It was the strain of speaking the truth in front of a group of dishonest people. Furthermore, that apology and that text message are not gifts. It's an admission. It is the system's final acknowledgement that your operating system was always better. We must deal with the trauma that occurred between the prediction and the vindication. Now that the apology has been received, we need to discuss the gap, the years when you were treated like the villain, even though you knew you were right and Saturday in the dark. The exile protocol is the name given to this stage. There is a standard operating procedure for anyone who learns the truth too soon. As you can see in the Matrix, the whistleblower is not rewarded by the system. They are destroyed by it. You became a foreign agent and a virus to their collective reality. You raised your voice and called attention to the mistreatment, the lies, or the poor investments. This is known as the Galileo effect. Galileo Galilei observed something that defied the laws of his world through his telescope in the 1600s. The sun is centered on the earth. It was a fact. The calculations were flawless. There was no denying the observation. However, the doctrine of the Times Church system held that the earth was the center of the universe. Galileo's discovery went beyond simply refuting a scientific theory. The power structure was in danger. The authorities were mistaken if Galileo was correct. An authoritative figure cannot afford to be in error. What then did they do? Did they thank Galileo for bringing science up to date? No, they tried him. They threatened to torture him. He spent the remainder of his life under house arrest. To stop his signal, they banished him. Does this sound like you? Consider being under house arrest yourself. The instant you began to sabotage the family story, the instant you declined to act as an enabler, the instant you began to recover while they continued to be ill, the exile started. You were no longer invited to the events. Without you, they made a different group chat. Their eyes were suspicious as they gazed at you. You were called the black sheep. You were called the problem child. They said you were difficult to love. This was internalized by you. You believed that I was being rejected because I was flawed. Not true. You were being turned away because you posed a threat. Their eyes could not handle the brightness of your light. Their frail foundations couldn't support the weight of your truth. Your frequency would have destroyed their delusions if they had kept you in the inner circle. In order to preserve the lie, they ejected you. It was a rejection. This quarantine was a tactical one. You were identified by the system as a potential stability threat. To prevent the rest of the herd from learning the truth, they had to erect a wall around you. Your name was tarnished by them. The stories they told about you were untrue. Why? Because they required an explanation for the exile. To feel like heroes, they had to make you the antagonist. This is where the apology reveals a twist. This is the divine plan that is causing loneliness. Your life was saved by the exile. What if Galileo had persuaded them? What if his truth had been accepted? He would have continued to live in the heart of the corrupt establishment. He would have been drawn into their conflicts, politics, and downfall. They unintentionally did you the greatest favor of your life by pushing you out. The cord was severed. You had to learn how to live alone because of them. They made you look for another source of approval besides their applause. They locked you out of their house and made you build your own. They were rotting together. While huddled in the warmth of their common delusion, you were growing stronger while you were out in the cold. You were downloading the codes of sovereignty. While you were in the wilderness, the banishment wasn't a penalty. The universe had issued a protective custody order. God said, "Get my chosen one off that ship." After glancing at that group and spotting the approaching iceberg, therefore, it wasn't because you weren't good enough that they broke your heart, stopped calling, or abandoned you on your birthday. The reason for this was that you were supposed to be somewhere else. The incubator was where you were. In order to protect you from the impending crash, you were being segregated, and the walls have now fallen. In solitary confinement, the truth you held has made headlines. In actuality, the only sane person in the house was the crazy person in the attic, and those who banished. You are examining your house arrest and determining that it was a throne room. We have now reached the actual event. It was not an unexpected apology. It was no haphazard gesture of goodwill. It was brought on by a collision. The lives of those who questioned you are undergoing a significant spiritual market correction right now. You must comprehend the mechanics behind why this is occurring at this moment. We must examine the 2008 financial crisis in order to comprehend your justification. Are you familiar with the film The Big Short? A few outsiders who were viewed as strange, antisocial, or simply wrong examined the American housing market data. Everyone else, including the government, the media, the large banks, and the barbecue family, claimed that the market was unbeatable. Housing prices always go up. They said, "You're safe." They said, Simply follow everyone else's lead. They were having a good time. They were making unaffordable purchases. They were using their future to gain short-term solace. However, the truth was revealed to these few outsiders, the crazy ones. When they examined the system's foundation, they saw that it was decaying. They realized that subprime loans, bad debts wrapped in glitzy packaging were the foundation of the entire economy. Thus, they took the unimaginable action. They placed bets against the US economy. They spent years shorting the market. They appeared to be fools. Premiums cost them money. At dinner parties, they were made fun of. Boardrooms laughed them out of existence. They were screamed at. Why are you so pessimistic? Why are you unable to simply accept the dream? They weren't being critical. The numbers were being read by them. When you decided to leave, this is precisely what transpired in your family. You were shorting the reality. When you made the decision to set boundaries and to leave the toxic relationship or dysfunctional family system, you said, this asset has no value. After examining the life path they were trying to sell you, including the soul-sucking job, the hollow marriage, and the performance-based love. While everyone else was betting on appearance, you were betting on the truth. They made significant investments in the fake. Consider what they purchased. They purchased the subpar relationship, which was secret and resentful on the inside but looked good on the outside. They purchased the subprime, ego-driven, debt-fueled, and utterly unstable success. They purchased the subprime peace, which was essentially avoidance and numbness, and the cost increased for some time. They appeared to be winning. They appeared to be happier without you. While they post pictures of their ideal life, you appeared to be the loser, sitting by yourself in your tiny apartment with nothing but your integrity. The universe, however, is a rigorous accountant. In both finance and physics, there is a fundamental law. The market always makes corrections. You can't live your entire life on lies. You can't keep using your soul as leverage. A lie's interest rate is compound. Furthermore, it eventually becomes unpayable, and the bill is due right now. The bubble is now gone. The delusion has been destroyed. Examine the surrounding environment. It's a debris field. They foreclosed on the ideal relationship they had chosen over you. They failed to get the easy money they sought. The unity of the family they feigned was bankrupt. They are in the midst of a complete systemic breakdown. Since the fun ran out, the friends who made it possible for them have vanished. The weight of reality has crushed the ego that shielded them. As they watch the value drop to zero, they are fixated on the screens of their lives. They are apologizing for this reason. Don't take their text message as a sign that your empathy has suddenly increased. Do not interpret their call as an epiphany about your value. It's not a gift to apologize. In the spirit world, it is a Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. They are insolvent, which is why they are coming to you. Their emotional credit has run out. Their spiritual capital is depleted. What do they see when they look at you? The lone individual who didn't believe the hype is visible. They observed the lone individual who worked diligently. They observed the lone investor in the tangible assets. You made an investment in recovery, stability of the asset class. You made a boundary investment, security of asset classes. You made an investment in a relationship with God, class of assets that have infinite wealth. Even though it was costly, you made an investment in truth. Your portfolio is now green as well. Your soul exchange has increased by 1, not 0%. The only person who is liquid is you. You are the only one with money, which is peace in the spiritual world. The way they are looking at you is similar to how the bankers looked when they realized the game was over in 2008. It's an expression of surprise, fear, and realization that they made a mistaken wager. The selected one was short-sold. They wager that you wouldn't succeed. They wager that if you didn't have their approval, you would fall apart. You needed them more than they needed you. They bet, and it turned out to be the worst financial choice they had ever made. There is currently a huge wealth transfer taking place. Money comes to mind, but that's not all I'm talking about. I am referring to authority. They no longer have the same level of credibility. They no longer have the respect they demanded. It's coming to you. The hedge against their inflation was you. The house is on fire because they canceled your insurance policy. They understand that you are conserving your energy for being genuine, while they were expending theirs on looking good. Additionally, appearances are useless in a collision. The only thing that can purchase survival is authenticity. Therefore, acknowledge it for what it is when you read that apology and hear them admit that you were correct. Their soul is being called into question. They know you are the only bank still in business, and they are broke. We have now reached the most intricate and fulfilling stage of the procedure, the time of the comeback. This was what the source transcript said would occur. They wager against you. They're feeling insane now. Let's delve further. Let's examine the ancient archetype that is currently manifesting itself in your direct messages and text messages. This is known as the Joseph paradox. Joseph was the family member who was selected in the book of Genesis. The dreams were his. The vision came to him. He wore a multicolored coat, which symbolizes God's favor. For that, he was despised by his brothers and the system of his era. They were unable to tolerate his light. They felt insignificant as a result. He was thrown into a pit as a result. He was sold into slavery. They told his father he was gone and staged his death. Problem solved. They thought the anomaly was eliminated. We can return to normal now. Let's fast forward 20 years. A severe famine strikes the country. The brothers plan. The logic of the world has failed. They have dead crops. Their funds are worthless. They are going hungry. However, bread is still available in one location that got ready for the collision. One location that is brimming with plenty. Egypt was the brothers' journey to Egypt in order to beg for food. The prime minister, who is in possession of the granary's keys, is presented with them. They drop to the ground. Frightened, they are unaware that the brother they betrayed is the Prime Minister. You are currently experiencing precisely this. Examine the individuals who keep coming back into your life. Take a look at the ex who wants to chicken out of the blue. Observe the family members who have expressed a sudden desire to get back in touch. Take a look at your old pals who have suddenly lost interest in you. For what reason are they present? Are they in love with you? No, they're going hungry. They are experiencing a famine of the soul. They are empty because of their phony decisions. The phony relationships are no longer there. Dust has replaced the hollow success. They lack energy, are emotionally dehydrated, and are spiritually malnourished. In their despair, they recall, Would there was one person who had lied all the time. One individual was consistently wise. One person in particular made me feel at home. They therefore walk back to you. Here's the paradox. Lo, the person they threw in the pit is what they are trying to find. The old you is what they're searching for. The version of you that was desperate for their approval is what they're searching for. It was the doormat version, the one that would take scraps of love in order to feel accepted. However, that individual perished in the pit. The Egyptian Prime Minister is currently seated in front of them. So many times in the dark, have you leveled up that they aren't even aware of your frequency? The language of sovereignty is the one you speak now. The posture of kingship is the new one you carry. The authority signet ring is in your hand. They are attempting to use your new hardware to run their outdated software. Guilt Trip version 1.0 bounces off your force field when they attempt to run it. You just look at them like a statue, unconcerned as they attempt to use Gaslight version 2.0. You can easily spot the manipulation when they attempt to use Love Bomb version 3.0. They're taken aback. Why isn't this working? They ask themselves. Why don't they come after me? Why don't they beg for my approval the way they used to? Because the grain belongs to you. The resource belongs to you. The bowls that are empty belong to them. The balance of power has been totally reversed. You gazed up at them pleading for love for years. They are now pleading for a lifeline as they look up at you. This isn't conceit. Alignment is this. While they were squandering their money on pointless things, you were accumulating wisdom for years. While their souls were in default, you spend years establishing your spiritual credit score. You are the central bank now that the market has corrected, and pay close attention to their apology. It is frequently awkward. It is frequently incomplete. I apologize if I offended you. Let's have a conversation. You have been on my mind. Translate this code. They're not merely offering regrets for the past. They are requesting a visa to enter your future. They understand that the sun is shining only in your territory. Your peace is what they want. They wish to gain access to you. It's raining acid everywhere else, so they want to stand under your umbrella. However, you possess the scepter. You have the power to allow or prohibit entry. They are no longer the ones who betrayed you. The key to their survival is you. Joseph did not come out right away. He put them to the test. He caused them to perspire. He forced them to demonstrate their transformation. Why? Because individuals who still have a pit mentality cannot be given kingdom bread. They will simply throw you back in the hole as soon as they are full. If you allow them to re-enter too easily, take a look at them. Take a close look at them. The creatures that frighten you, all they are hungry, weary travelers. The giants who tormented you are little men who are begging for favors. It's worthless money. The validation you so desperately wanted. The gold is yours. The corn is yours. You are in control. The vindication is finished. The prince is now the prisoner. We need to discuss your response now that the Prime Minister has been exposed and the starving brothers are at the gate. What are your thoughts on the apology? What are your thoughts on the vindication? Most people believe that now is the time for retaliation. They believe that now is the time to make fun of them. They believe you ought to scream, "I said so, now look at you." However, that response is a remnant of your former self. That response is a pit reaction. The sovereign doesn't look for retribution. The sovereign is looking for order. This stage is known as the veto power. The president has the authority to veto a bill in politics. The president has the authority to reject it even if Congress approves it. The agenda is not in line with this. For the rest of your life, you have the veto power. You yearned for their approval for years. You were pleading with them to acknowledge their error. You believed that I could at last recover if they would simply apologize. You believed that their apologies were the missing component of your soul. The timeline shock, however, comes next. You don't care that they're finally giving it to you. You look at their apology and feel a deep, calm indifference instead of any anger, joy, or sadness. Why? Because the apology is too late to make a difference. It's like getting a $100 check when you're already worth $1 billion. Are you validated by the check? Yes. Is it necessary to purchase dinner? No. You've already made a fortune for yourself in the dark. While they were harming you, you were healing yourself. While they were gaslighting you, you gave yourself validation. But while they were leaving the door open, you constructed your own closure. As a result, you discovered that their fake apology money has no value in your new economy when they return with it. Your management has changed. They have fired the version of you that required their approval. The company is being run by the self-approving version of you. The ultimate power move is this one: lack of interest. The antithesis of love is not hate. Hatred is still a feeling. You are still vibrating at their frequency even if you despise them. The real opposite is apathy. I wish you well, but I don't want to get involved, says indifference. I forgive you, but I don't give you access, says indifference. You're coming to understand that reconciliation and forgiveness are two distinct agreements. Forgiveness is a release from within. To avoid dying from their poison, you must consume the antidote. An external agreement is what reconciliation is. You're extending an invitation for them to return inside without reopening the account. You can forgive the debt without allowing them to return to the blessed zone. You can bless them from a distance. This shocks them. They anticipated that you would fold to them, which gives them control, or fight them, which gives them attention. The firewall caught them off guard. They weren't prepared for you to gaze at them with a stranger's composed gaze. They are yelling and banging on the door. But I apologized. And from the other side, you are whispering, I am aware, and I agree to it. However, new locks have been installed. The emperor is stoic. The subject's opinions do not cause the emperor to lose sleep. Just because the barbarians are cold doesn't mean that the emperor lowers the drawbridge. You must defend a kingdom. You have a peace to protect now, and you are aware that these individuals are at a high risk according to the data. They have a track record of causing market crashes. They have a track record of betraying you. For what reason would you allow them to return to the treasury? Your veto power is being used. You are examining the proposed bill of re-entry and, not out of malice but rather wisdom, you are stamping it as denied. For the first time, you love yourself more than you want their love. Additionally, the fact that you have finally and fully moved on is demonstrated by your silence and lack of response, which hurts them more than any scream ever could. To fully comprehend why you can't just open the door, let's go into more detail about this veto power. We must view your life from a risk management perspective. You are more than a person attempting to win people over. You are a sovereign state's chief executive officers. Additionally, it is your fiduciary responsibility as CEO to safeguard the company's assets. Which assets are there? Your energy, your vision, your tranquility, and your sanity. These individuals are requesting a merger when they return with their excuses. They wish to combine your order with their chaos. They wish to combine your surplus with their debt. You also need to do the math. This is referred to as the sovereign audit. Take a look at their history. Examine the past data. What happened to the price of your stock each time you previously granted them access? It crashed. Did they bring problems or solutions each time you allowed them into the boardroom? Did they magnify or make fun of your vision each time you shared it with them? The information is definitive. These individuals are liabilities. An asset puts money in your pocket in accounting. Money is taken out of a liability. These individuals are energetic liabilities. They make you less valuable. Your joy is liquidated by them. Furthermore, their classification on the balance sheet remains unchanged simply because they apologize. Even if a bankrupt business apologizes to the bank, they won't be granted another loan until they can demonstrate that they are solvent. Now that you are the bank, you have stringent lending requirements. Subprime lending is what you would have done in the past. Anybody who smiled at you would have won your heart. You would have given your energy to those who couldn't repay you. However, since you survived the crash, the rules have become more stringent. You know it's against your own security procedures to let them back in. The point is not to harbor resentment. It has to do with safeguarding assets. Your creation is too valuable to be left unguarded. You built something that was too expensive to buy. Why would you expose it to those who attempted to set it on fire? I've changed, they might say, perhaps, but the audit requires time. It's not a switch to trust. A credit score is what it is. Additionally, they currently have a credit score of 0. It must be rebuilt from the outside in. They must demonstrate their consistency in the absence of your approval. Before they rely on you, they must demonstrate their independence. Therefore, you are not being cruel when you use your veto power. You're acting responsibly. You are safeguarding your children, your legacy, your purpose, and your future shareholders. You are stating that access is denied, while examining the red dots on the radar cause a high risk of contamination. Since the empire won't grow on its own, you then return to your job. The veto has already been granted. The audit has finished. The drawbridge is operational. We are now in the vindication protocol's last and most permanent phase. We're not merely going on. History is being rewritten by us. In combat, there is an old proverb: the winners write the history. The Matrix, the toxic family system, the losers, and the skeptics held the pen for years. The story of your life was written by them. The Black Sheep, Chapter 1, was written by them. Chapter 2, The Failure, was written by them. The one who lost their mind was the one who wrote Chapter 3. The story was under their control. The neighbors said you were challenging. They declared you lost to the world, and their version of events became the official record, because they were the majority and had the numbers. However, since you prevailed today, the pen has been torn from their grasp. You made it through the collision. You foresaw the fall. You constructed the ark. Additionally, the author rights are passed down to the winner, according to the laws of spiritual warfare. Now, you are your lineage's chief and only editor. Your family history is undergoing a significant retroactive continuity retcon at the moment. You realize that the Black Sheep label was a typo as you look back at it. The Golden Child is the proper spelling. Looking back, you see that the Scapegoat label was incorrect. The GOAT, greatest of all time, is the right title. The story has been reversed. In reality, the insane behavior they accused you of was vision. In reality, leadership was the rebellion for which you were punished. Self-preservation was the selfishness for which you were shamed. The meanings of those words have forever changed now that the results are in. Now that you are standing in the light and they are standing in the debris, you're setting a new benchmark. Anyone in your lineage who wishes to succeed from now on must adhere to your blueprint rather than theirs. The exception to the rule no longer applies to you. The rule is you. The new standard is you. They must study your life if they wish to be happy. They must learn your moves if they wish to be wealthy. They must follow your path if they wish to be free. For the doubter's ego, this is the height of humiliation. They tried to teach you how the world functions for years. They must now take notes while you teach while seated in the back of the room. They are no longer the story's primary characters. They now play supporting roles instead. They are the antagonists in the first act who are there only to strengthen the hero. These are the cautionary tales. These are the footnotes in your biography that explain why you left the company. You shouldn't feel bad about taking the pen. They chose to write a tragedy rather than a love story. They could have written a story of unity, but instead they chose to write one of betrayal. They relinquished their author authority when they sold you out. Now the page is blank. The ink belongs to you, and the story you are writing is one of total victory. You are proving that the curse does not apply to you. You are proving that you are not the only person living in poverty. You are proving that you are the target of the mistreatment. You are the foundation of the new era. The history books will divide your timeline into two parts. You were preceded by the Dark Ages and succeeded by the Renaissance. The pen is down. The ink is now dry. The past is different now. We now need to discuss permanence. The doubters' biggest concern was that your success would be fleeting. They wanted you to briefly succeed before collapsing so they could say, "We warned you it wouldn't last." You see, the vindication protocol, however, is not a passing fad. It's a permanent installation. The struggle phase is over, and you are now in the monument phase. Consider Mount Rushmore. Consider the pyramids. The wind doesn't argue with them. The sand doesn't argue with them. They simply remain standing. They cannot be denied. The landscape includes them. To your ancestors, you have become this. At the dinner table, you are no longer a point of contention. You're a fact. Your achievement is predetermined. Steel strengthens your peace. The foundation of your joy is indefinable to the logic of the outside world. The enemy must come to terms with the doubt. Malfair and the president of the previous system. He can take you out of the records. He can get rid of your file. You have done too much damage to the darkness. You've been lighted up too much. It's too big for you to fail. What about the skeptics? The ones who expressed regret. Additionally, they are starting to recognize their historical place. They understand that you are the only reason they will be remembered. They are the footnotes to your biography. They are your film's antagonists, essential to the storyline but doomed to fail in the third act. They tried to bury you without realizing they were the seed in the ground. They tried to break you, not realizing they were the hammer that shaped the steel. You are the first, and being the first is never easy. This is the reason it hurts so much. This was the reason it was so lonely. The icebreaker ship takes the most damage, since it must first crash through the frozen water. The following ships can sail in the clean water. The conversation was initiated by you. You were hit. You absorbed the shock, and because of what you did, the water is now clear. The road is open. You proved that it could be done. You proved that you can make it through hell and come out feeling like you accomplished something. You demonstrated that a chosen one is not subject to logic. Regarding the danger, you were correct. Regarding the potential, you were correct. Regarding yourself, you were correct. I've uploaded the Sovereign's Handbook. It serves as a manual for living after winning. It's the next phase of your development. It is the video that is currently displayed on your screen. Keep scrolling. Avoid returning to the past. Click to view the video. Take ownership of your legacy. The crazy stage is over. This is the start of the ruling phase. Get it?